I am batting 130, 70 points below the Mendoza line with my submissions to Hat. So I have 3 skulls now. Very happy. Never thought it was going to happen. I had something come out earlier this week, and I'm very happy about it.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Now it's sort of like, now I get to, it's a very strange feeling, just trying to set my sights on other things now. I've had a lot of folks kind of like, hey, congratulations, way to go, this is really great. And I just feel it's because of all of my complaining about my writing and now having pulled the hat trick in a way, I just feel it's very clear to be open with people and be like, look, it took a lot of submissions to get there with 23. So, yeah, I mean, I guess the moral of the story is just keep writing, just keep doing it, just keep trying, just keep submitting. And then at the end of the day, the law of averages works in your favor.
Yes. I mean, certainly. I think that's true in your case. You know, what do you think your progression was as a writer? So let's pick up from maybe the beginning of the show. You know, you certainly weren't publishing at the clip that you are now at the beginning of the show, which for, I guess for the record would be like 2.5 years ago at this point.
Yeah.
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 So what do you think has changed in the last 2+ years that's gotten you here?
Well, I think a couple different things. I think doing it more. I mean, you know, when you get that first acceptance, it's like, what can I have another one? Let's have another one. Let's do some more. And I think that the more I was publishing and the more lit mags that I found, the more I could read. I mean, that's always, I think, the basis, one of the most basic things that you can do. You just got to read more. I mean, my high school English teacher was telling me that after I would come in and be like, oh, I didn't read the reading last night. He'd be like, you got to read more. You got to read more. That's the best way to feed your writing. And I was like, yeah, but I'm the writer. Why should I have to read anything? Because I was stupid. And so, reading more lit mags and reading more folks and finding folks that I really enjoy and want to try and write like, people that inspire me. You know, we've been very fortunate to have Bethany Jarmal on the show, and reading her writing has just been something that's kind of like one of those things you're just like, oh man, that was so good. I want to see if I can do something like that. I want to see if I can evoke that same imagery or that same emotion or do something in that tight a piece. One of the other things that really helped me was the community of the Smoke Long Workshop. And we talked a lot about that here. There's a kind of FOMO, I think, you know, a fear of missing out when you're seeing folks publish and they're doing such great work. You want to be like, oh man, I want to do that too. I want to have that feeling. I want to be able to like show people my work. And you want to like, you know, share what you've got going on, and you want to share that you've got some acceptances. So I think that's kind of it as well. There will be days when, you know, a couple of days when I'm away from writing because I'm doing my day job, and I just sort of check into like the Smoke Long Workshop or to Blue Sky or social media in general. And I'm just sitting there going, oh man, so-and-so got another thing published. You read it and you're like, oh, that's so good. I know I've got a piece that might fit that lit mag just because I'm reading this. I got to go do that. I want to do it. So it's a couple different things. And then of course, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that you've helped me out with, as you always have over the past 30+ years, where it's just like, you know, being able to take suggestions, take comments, take that kind of feedback that we get and really sort of think about it and dig deeper. You know, one of the things that you have said to me an awful lot was you're not going into the deep end with the emotion. And that's something that's always stuck with me, is that idea that I'm like, yeah, this piece is okay. I could probably submit it, but maybe if I really tried. And that's the thing to do, is just pushing yourself to work to try and get something that you really think shines.
That's probably the biggest step change that I've noticed. I mean, your prose has always been clean and effortless in a way, and conversational, you know, because many times you're writing in first person. Not always, but many times. But the thing that you've really started to do more is be vulnerable, you know, in the writing, which is very intriguing. And I remember way back when, you know, decades ago, you would lean on the gimmick, you know, and that was sort of the way of getting into the piece, and it was sort of the joke or the rim shot, was this gimmick. These wacky laser aliens or whatever. and I'm sure you're still doing some of that, but now it's bending towards something that is more universal and less of a punchline. And I think that has a lot more staying power. And I can see the evolution from your previous work to the work now that you're getting published. I mean, it's just far and away more universal and more intriguing, So I totally see why people are picking up your stories, why you're getting published as much as you are, because you're writing really good stuff. And it's all really short. That's the other thing. I think you've really carved out that niche for yourself. And of course, there are many people in that space, but you really have planted your flag on flash fiction or microfiction. And so like staying disciplined or honing in on that style and practicing and doing it, you just get better at it, and so that focused amount of effort that you have has really paid off. So congrats.
Well, thank you very much. I really, really appreciate it. It's, I remember when we started this year, we were talking about what we kind of were hoping to do, and I was trying to look at longer pieces, and I'm still like looking back at things being like, I got that novel that I really want to go back to. And this is one of those things that I think, I think that there's always that romantic ideal that, at some point, the right turn of phrase, someone will say something, or I'll experience something, or I'll go to the Taco Bell, or the neighbor will say something that sparks that thing that makes me go, oh, that's great. I've just got the inspo. I need to go back to that novel and work on it. But I don't think, and that's what I used to always do, was like, I shall wait for the muse to come and find me. And I know that's not the case with this project, with that novel, my Mal Noir. It's work. It's work. And my FOMO of not getting published and being able to celebrate that with my community of people, with community of writers, has sort of overtaken my desire to like, maybe if I put off a month or two, maybe if I looked at my annual leave from my job, took a week off, said, so long, hon, I had to go and do this thing. You know what I mean? Like, I'm kind of wondering if I really need to focus on that and make it something that is just like, it's going to be a lot of work. I just need to put on my boots and do it.
Yeah. And I wonder, not to put words in your mouth, but is it a discipline thing, or is it a just getting started thing so that, as soon as the rock starts rolling down the hill, it's harder to stop, you get that momentum? Or is it, instilling that discipline? Because you're already writing, every day pretty much. You're just working on things that are more self-contained, so you can get kind of a beginning, middle, and end, get through the entire process, get a finished product, feel good about it in a very compressed time frame. So which way is it? I mean, do you need the momentum to get started, or do you need the discipline to stay focused?
I think the discipline, because I've always been somebody, we've talked a lot about this. For me to write in my mid-30s to my mid-40s, all of the stars had to be aligned. The coffee had to be there. I was so high maintenance, and it was all an excuse to not do the work. Well, this coffee shop doesn't have the right vibe. Well, my pen, this isn't the kind of pen that I want to work with. All of these things that I would put in front of it. And my discipline is still something that I struggle with. Like, yes, I do tend to write stuff every day, a little bit every day, generally, depending on what my work schedule is. But there might be a day where I'm only doing 10 minutes of work and the rest of it is just scrolling, or, fixing up that playlist just to make it right, to make it just right. So, I need to make it an event. I think that's one of the things that I want to try this year is, hey, I've looked ahead 2 months. I'm going to take a week off from work. And then I'm going to at least try to make a second draft of the novel. That way, that old, high maintenance version of me that's like, all right, everything's just in tune right now. I'm going to go ahead and write. I can do that but it just kind of hopefully makes me build the excitement. Or, the other thing is I could just try and get it into my daily habit to work on it instead of making it an event, because, if I take that week off and then suddenly the first day I'm like, I don't have anything, I can't tell. I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah. Well, look, everybody's different, so I wouldn't presume to tell you this is what you need to do, but I can imagine that happening a few different ways. And so if you will, imagine it with me and let me know what you think is most likely. If you do kind of a retreat approach where you go off somewhere for a week and carve out the time, yes, there's a risk that you sit down, crack your knuckles, and the blank page stares back at you, and it's a hopeless, lost endeavor, right? It takes a lot of effort to get into the piece. You're not happy with what you're doing, which leads to frustration, which leads to scrolling, right? That could be a possibility. The other way it could go is that you do find the momentum that you're looking for and the discipline, and you do it. Now, when you get to the end of the week and you go back to your real life, does that momentum stop because you're not in the retreat anymore? So I don't think it's an either or. I think you could use a retreat to jumpstart your progress on the book. But at some level, I would imagine it's going to take you longer than a week. So you need to build it into your regular routine. Now, we've talked about, writing every day, and how some, like Stephen King, talks about writing every day. And look, if you're going to be super prolific and you're super talented, sure, write every day. But I have seen as many successful writers say, don't feel the pressure to do it every day. You just need to do it regularly. And that depends, like if you've got a full-time job and children and whatever, or a new puppy, like there's a lot of things that are going to pull at your attention. It seems like the discipline to carve out perhaps a dedicated block of time on a regular interval. Maybe that's 3 days a week, 4 days, 5 days, whatever it is. I want to say Margaret Atwood writes every morning. Like she basically writes from 7 until noon, I think is kind of how it works. So yeah, I mean, it sounds like, if you want to do the retreat, that sounds great, as a jump start. But then once the car is started and you're driving it, you still have to drive it regularly in order to get home. Yeah.
Yeah. That's the thing that I think would end up happening is I need to get excited about it and realize, I think the phases would be, I would have to reread the novel. And that would be extremely intimidating because I don't want to find out how much work I have to do, because, can't I just be brilliant? And, no one usually is. So it's that moment that I have to capture in writing that second draft, what I want to look for, what I want to hopefully find in taking time off to dedicate to it, is that aha moment that's like, okay, I can make this work. I can do this, because I know I can. I know that a lot of people can. They can write a novel. It's just time plus energy plus a sort of, they have to, they have to start listening to this podcast and get your 9 steps to writing something, the usual stuff.
Right. No. But the non-negotiables, right.
The non-negotiables. And it's just that I keep putting off the novel, this longer work, because I'm just sort of, to be fair, one of the things that I think we talked about this is that I'm trying to have something get published every month, whether it's writing or photography. So I'm like, I got to get something published every month. I got to get some traction. I got to, build a following and stuff like that. And it's like, look, man, nobody knows who I am. You could probably take a month off and nobody's going to be like, but where's Tim's stuff? So nobody's out there with their Google alerts to Timothy C. Goodwin's latest work.
You don't know that. You don't know that.
Well, all right, I confess. Mom is sending me messages. But yeah, I think that at this phase in my sort of writing career, I feel like I'm getting more confident in being able to look at a piece of my own and say, what does this need? More confident doesn't mean I've got it figured out. I was working on a small piece today and I was just like, I don't even know what to do with this. I probably should just throw it out. And then I thought one of two things. I either send it to Art Franz or I send it to Emily Rinkema, see what's going on and have them fix it for me. But, yeah, I think I might just I really want to look at that. I really thought that I was having a lot of fun writing that longer piece and writing that novel. And I'd really like to see if it's something that I could make that I'd at least be proud of. That's the important thing. I think I've gotten to the age where I realize I ain't going to have no overnight success somewhere. It ain't going to happen, but I might as well write something that's fun for me.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. First of all, I want to give you, some well-deserved praise.
Do you have a Google alert for me?
I do not. But I do think that you can write a novel. I mean, you've written 5 novel-length pieces, first drafts. And I think you may have edited one of them. You may have gone back to the record store novel to do a second draft. Am I right?
I have not. Oh, wait,
okay.
yes, the record store novel. I'm sorry. Yes,
yep.
I did a second of the record store novel.
Yeah. See, I know your body of work better than you do. All right. So in that regard, I want to encourage you to go back into the novel. I think you should. And the discipline that you are craving, you've actually demonstrated it over the last year. Like you're pushing yourself to publish at a rapid pace and you're having great success doing that. That means that if you break down a larger task into smaller, subtasks, that you can accomplish each of those in turn. So it really is just about how do you want to think about the novel, not as one giant apparatus, but as a series of small scenes. And you just write the scenes and then, so like if you're writing every day or if you're writing every other day, then that's the framework of time that you're going to use to write the next scene. And so the act of reading it, I know that's daunting. And I know it's going to hurt, like in your chest, it's going to hurt to read the book and see how bad some pieces of it are, because that's just the way it is, man. That's how it works.
Yeah.
But, that's okay. It's supposed to be bad. So like, you hit the target. Good job. But it's really about, I mean, for real, like it just needs to exist. Remember, we found that out, the first draft, the only requirement is that it exists. So you did that.
Yeah.
So now you read it and basically identify not the language that's good, because this was always my problem. Like I'd go back and carve out all the bad language and leave the good language. And then there's no story. It's just all this, good language and you can't do anything with it. But as far as the story and the characters go, there's some meat on the bone. Like I remember Caroline was very interesting when I read it, and I only got maybe 40, 50 pages into that draft, but Caroline jumped off the page. And I'm like, I want to know more about this person. I want to see them doing more things. And there was a lot of real intrigue. Who are these people? Why was the theft? It had a lot going on. So when you go back through, don't worry about the individual sentences, the paragraphs, the structure. Like, don't worry about it. Just think about what's interesting in this draft that I think I would want to know more about. What did I expect to happen that maybe wasn't represented in the book? And I know, okay, I'm going to make some quick notes. I know, I forgot to do this. I want to do this. Maybe try this. And then you just start writing a fresh draft, and you're really good at writing fresh drafts. So I don't think it's nearly as daunting as you think it is in your head, because it's not my book. So it's super easy for me. Like, hey, you should just do it. Problem solved. But I do think that this is one of those times where maybe you should just do it. Because I think it was a really fun read, what I read of it, and you should do it.
One of the problems that I've had is I've been reading so much microfiction lately and reading so many great lit mags that I haven't read a novel since the beginning of the year. And it's crazy because it's already July. Don't get me started. Existential crisis. Time slips past so fast. So maybe that's something I could get into. Just read the stupid thing.
Yeah, and I don't think reading other people's novels at this stage in your career is a prerequisite to read your draft. So don't put that as a obstacle or barrier that you have to clear before you can read it.
I'm just gonna do a quick read of Infinite Jest before I try my own novel. I'll see something light and airy so that I can get inspired.
I'll just read War and I'll save peace for later. We'll just do War and then I'll start. Yeah. So yes, you should do that. And, this is me waving a wand saying, I can, wizard you out of this, Harry. I'll tell you, the thing that I wish I could talk about is all of the work that I'm doing that is absolutely hidden from public view. I really wish I could talk about the game design stuff I'm doing and the the technical writing that I do, and I can't talk about it at all, unfortunately.
Right.
Company policy.
But you're getting the satisfaction out of it. And I think that's an interesting topic.
Yes.
That's so interesting because, we have talked ad nauseum about my need to be validated. We started this conversation with Had, and how many times have I interrupted our podcast just to talk about how much I wanted to be in it? So for me, having that public validation to say, I am a writer. Look, see, this place published it. But I've never been comfortable just taking satisfaction in the work. Maybe I'll say that part of that for my therapist, but for you, it's an entirely different ballgame. You feel satisfied doing work that you are NDA'd with, correct?
Yeah. I can't even say who it's for, So, but what I can say is that I have internal reviewers who read what I write and critique it. So I am getting kind of a feedback loop. So it's not me just, off in Wonderland doing whatever I want and, dancing in the lilies. No. So I am getting feedback, and it's really usable feedback. Like I get a lot of positive and then some constructive, and I go back to the drawing board and I go fix it. So from approaching writing as a job, it's a really good practice test because, this is kind of how it works. If you're writing something that someone else intends to use, then, they're the ones who need to be happy with it. But, I also need to be happy with it. I want to make sure that it's of high quality. And so I had a really interesting moment where, I had done, multiple drafts of this thing that were kind of in silos, right? So I just sort of, based it on what they told me to base it on. And then I did my own riff, my own spin, and I'm like, this is what that would do. So I did it and I showed it to them and they're like, that's really cool, but that's not going to fit what we do. So can you try that again, please? And I'm like, yeah, sure. Yeah, no problem. And I'm like bummed because I put time into it and it was good for what it was, but it wasn't what they wanted. So I tried again. And again, I'm in my little silo and I spin it off in a different direction. I'm like, this is great. So then I give it to them again. And again, same feedback. Wow, this is really good. But yeah, we really can't use this because ABC. And I'm like, man, okay. So once they explained to me, that I really needed to be more collaborative, with other team members, that was music to my ears, because I was about to recommend, hey, I really need to get plugged in with these other folks because they're the ones who are going to be impacted by what I write. And so, I did that and, set up this regular schedule where I would propose something, kind of write up, the direction I think it should go and then pitch it. And so I had a bunch of these probably over the course of a month, maybe every week, a little pitch meeting with, it's almost like ghostwriting is really what I'm describing. Because the story is not really yours. You're sort of shepherding somebody else's story along. And the client is like, yeah, that's pretty cool. I want to do that. And then, so that's really what it's been. It's been this kind of lasering in or narrowing in the focus on the thing that they want to tell anyway.
Yeah.
And so now that we have that through line, I went ahead and wrote it and they're like, yes, this is much, much closer. And so it still needs to go through some more review and I'll probably get some more edits, but you can't be, a delicate flower about getting feedback. If you're going to be a professional writer, you've got to have that thick skin. And usually that comes from getting a lot of feedback, and just practice. Like, what is it? The lumberjack's hands don't start off hard. They have to swing an axe for a long time and then they toughen up. So yeah, I'm just out there swinging an axe, trying to toughen up. And I've been doing this a long time, Tim. I am no stranger to feedback and I'm happy to take it.
Yeah. I love this idea and I want to ask you a question about it. I love Nine Inch Nails. And Trent Reznor, lead singer of Nine Inch Nails, who is Nine Inch Nails, Trent Reznor was like, I do this by myself. It's not like I have a group of friends like U2 does where they can kind of, they make music together. and they have a band, and they, have this sharing of ideas. I'm super paraphrasing. And I found in my own past that I love doing cooperative work. I love collaborative work if I have my own solitary projects. And if I'm really proud and happy with what I'm doing in my solitary projects, I absolutely love teamwork because, if somebody shoots down my idea, okay, great. Let's try something different. What do you got? Okay, great. And then, you have this sort of back and forth, and it sort of helps me relax a lot to do that collaborative sort of thinking, knowing that I have my own business over here. Is that how it is for you? You have done a lot of writing, as Arthur Brand before. Do you have that same kind of feeling? And am I even making sense?
Yeah. No, I enjoy collaborating with people I respect. Yes, absolutely. Because you generally get to a better result. Professionally, if I'm writing a training class, for example, I really appreciate having either an assembly line to kind of speed up the work, or a partner in crime who I can share work in progress with, and we can bounce ideas off each other. In general, having a small cadre of experts work with you, you're going to get better results. So yes, and that's one of the reasons that we recommend having a reader group of a certain size, because those folks can help, illuminate blind spots. None of us is perfect. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I am so much happier to sacrifice ideas if I'm creating with a group than I am on my own. Like, if I'm on my own, I'm like, no, this is my voice. This is my thing. And that means gimmick.
Yeah.
But when I'm collaborating with other people, I'm like, oh yeah, maybe that's right. Yeah, let's do it. And I love that feeling that I can have two voices in a way. One that is a collaborative voice that is very easy to say, yeah, let's do this or let's not do that. And then my own voice that, the team of guys in my head are not very good with each other.
Yeah. Well, collaborating successfully, I think, does require you to be able to set aside your ego and to work towards the best version of what the group can develop, rather than trying to lead or harangue a group of people into developing your idea. Because there have been times in my life where I've done the latter, and it was miserable. It was not a good experience for anyone, because I was inflexible or lacked the creative thought to allow myself to not be in complete control of a project. And of course, those projects end very quickly. So if you've got to collaborate, you've got to trust your partners, and you've got to give as much as you push,
Yeah. Yeah. I remember when this is kind of a touch off of the writing topic, but when I was in my 20s and even into my 30s as a manager of places, I was always the tall, skinny, nerdy guy that got the keys to the building because they were afraid of getting in trouble, and showed up on time and kind of done the chore at the end of the night. But when I got into management, I was very much not a collaborator. I was like, no, here's my first day as a manager. The pencil cup is going to be here now. That's where it's going to be, just to show that I was in charge. Oh, I'm so glad I'm over that me, and getting into creative collaboration. Yeah, I think it's almost like that kind of thing where, oh, you want to tell me what I'm going to do in this part of the project? Great. I love that. I don't have to do any thinking except for this. Great. Let's do it.
Yeah. I mean, I struggle internally because I want to demonstrate value. When I'm part of a team or part of a project, I want to make sure that I'm contributing in a way that people feel is valuable and necessary. But maybe 15 years ago, I wanted to be the top dog. I wanted to be the smartest guy in the room, and I wanted to run the show. I wanted to be an autocrat, kind of. And now I just want to collaborate with people. And we were talking to Kathy about that, the other podcast. Yeah. I'm dead serious. Like, hey, Kathy, if you're listening, I want to collaborate, and I'm much better at it now than I would have been 25 years ago. It's just, it's part of my professional development has been improving collaboration. And I've demonstrated on a daily basis that I'm really good at it. So the goal there, I guess, if you're going to collaborate successfully, is you have to respect the other people that you're working with, because I've been in situations where I've had, been forced to work with people that I don't respect, and I either don't trust them to do their job, or they come up with ideas that run completely counter to what I think would be successful. And that kind of tension or conflict is hard to resolve. So like,
Yeah.
Tim, I think if you and I tried to collaborate, it would be more successful because you and I have a lot of faith in each other and trust in each other. However, we have different styles, and I wonder whether they would mesh very well, So I don't know.
I think it's something we have tried a couple times. I think one of my submissions to add was a collaboration with you, and it was sort of like, I didn't give you all of the details. I think it was one of those hair on fire kind of like, Art, there's the thing, do tomorrow, and dude,
Right.
send me the thing.
Right.
It was just like, oh man. But yeah, I mean, I think you raise a really good point about wanting to show value in that atmosphere as well. To me, I'm trying to be more comfortable with, if someone's asking me to collaborate, I don't need to worry about showing them value, because they asked me to be a part of this group anyway. So, relax. Just bring what you bring your set of toys, bring your set of skills, and it'll probably go all right.
Yep. That's good. That's a good way to think about it, because if you take the internal pressure off, it may actually spill into the group, tension. You got to break that ice, right? That initial tension can be palpable. Yeah. So, but yeah, so that, getting back to what started all this, I think the work that I'm doing now, that it's more collaborative, it's much more enjoyable. Before I was thoroughly enjoying it, but it was hard to get it smacked down and rejected at the rim, I felt like they were goaltending at every moment. Like, I can't get a bucket. But now I feel like we're all on the same team, and we're passing and shooting and working together. So it's been very, enjoyable. And I think when it comes out, it's going to be phenomenal to be able to say, I helped, create that thing. It's going to be really cool.
Mainly because you'll be able to tell people finally.
Right. That now, will be nice.
Can you say a couple things about your workflow with this? Are you dedicating time? Do you have a regular schedule, or fitting it in whenever you can?
Yeah, it's
because just in case, just to refresh some folks, you've got a lot going on over there. You got a family, you got a job, and all of it, and you live in New Orleans.
Yeah. It's a nights and weekends kind of thing. Because I have a day job that's very demanding, that I'm also very good at. I mean, I'm not going to be bashful. I'm very good at my job. But this extra thing that I have the opportunity to do is just too good to pass up. So, I find a little time here and there. And fortunately, the deadlines are very, predictable, and there's been no conflict. It's been great.
Yeah.
So the goal has been to, again, just add value. And so I'm really good at communication as well, especially in a professional context. So I'm always making sure that I'm available to, chat on the weekends, for example, and to kind of push things forward, when I'm not at my day job. And, it's such an enjoyable, activity that it hardly feels like work. It's just, I'm enjoying the heck out of it. So it's been good.
Before you got this opportunity, I remember you sort of felt bad because you weren't getting as much time writing as you wanted to, or having any creative endeavor as well. Like, so this must feel very satisfying to have this outlet, right? I mean, you have the outlet with the game design, with Breakaway Football and the success that's had. But this is like new and exciting. So this must be satisfying.
Yeah, and it is, because it sort of developed out of the work that I had put into Breakaway Football, and I still have that whole Uplink Underground Games thing. I still work on those products as well. Again, nights and weekends. Because it's a labor of love and it's just fun. I was over at my friend's house the other night, who's one of the partners in the business, and he and I were designing a new game, that's very much a how to make a movie kind of game, and different roles. It's like a cooperative 4-player game where, one person's the director, one person's the main actor, one person's the writer, one person's the producer. And there's all these different tasks that need to be performed. And, you're storyboarding the script, you're managing budget, you're doing all this crazy stuff. And basically the goal of the game is to make a movie, and it plays in 90 minutes to 2 hours, or it will. It doesn't exist right now, but it will play in 90 minutes to 2 hours. Basically the amount of time it would take for you to watch a movie. You can play this game where you make a movie from start to finish. So, I'm really excited about it. It's unique. There really isn't anything else on the market like it. And it's going to be one of those niche games, that, it's just one of those little hobby games that maybe some people will discover and enjoy. And, I'll make sure you get a copy, Tim.
Oh, I want to make a movie.
Yeah, it'll be fun. And if we know me at all, it'll have a solo mode, so you'd be able to play it by yourself.
Oh, good.
I like solo gaming. It's fun.
Yeah.
But anyway,
great.
all of this is just, I have to be creative. And so I've been pouring a lot of my creative energy into things that actually could create revenue, if I'm lucky. And the kind of publications that I thought I wanted to do, which was more short fiction, publishing a novel, I actually have opportunities I can't pass up where I can grab, in the short term, actual capital. And so I'm like, I'm not going to turn that down just to chase, what I thought I wanted 30 years ago. So no, I'm doing this. And it's very satisfying creatively, although it's difficult to work within someone else's IP, because you really have to learn the IP as if it's yours. And then you can start to create within it. But you really don't have a lot of liberty to create new characters, new, motivations. You have to kind of work within
their parameters.
What they've already set up. But even so, I pitched some new directions and they were not shot down. So I'm really pumped that some of the things that I think are kind of not subversive, but are really neat, they've said, yeah, we think that's neat too. And so we'll see if it makes it through to the final cut.
Wow, that sounds fantastic. I mean, and you talk about the opportunity. It was Kat Hammonds herself who said it's an interesting thing when writing becomes an important part of your income. So, I mean, congratulations.
Thanks. Yeah, it's, obviously it's a drop in the bucket, relatively speaking, but it's still really cool to get paid to write stuff. And that is I will always sing high praises of that. If you're a writer and you get paid to write, man, you're living it.
Yes.